You know, it's a good thing that I'm not a high-powered executive in the gaming industry, because I'd probably send people to jail for game design ideas. Executives can do that, right? I think so. That's how it works. I'm absolutely certain. And these are the top 7 video game crimes. Okay, I'm not exactly sure if these are crimes, like they're not illegal technically, but you kinda sorta wish that people could be sent to jail because of them, sometimes. Well, not always, but sometimes, couple of times, seldom. Well, when you break it right down, quite often, always. Always. The kind of things that make you just wanna throw up your arms and pretend like they're important in the grand scheme of things when you take into consideration other things that are happening in the world and how meager and insignificant a design choice is, even though it absolutely makes you want to tear your hair out because it kind of ruins a game that you paid a lot of money for. Or worse, it makes it slightly unpleasant. Gasp. That being said, let's get it started with number 7. Mouse controls. Not in the sense that having mouse controls should be a crime punishable by jail or a fine or a chair with static electricity in it, a lot of it, but having improper mouse controls or supporting a mouse so badly that your third-person shooter is better played with a keyboard or can only be played with a keyboard is kind of off-putting in a game, wouldn't you say? And it's not as though a mouse is the recent invention where you say, oh yeah, well, it's been around for only a couple of years, people are still getting used to it, no one has it down yet, they're working on it. It's a mouse, it's been around since before the personal computer. Literally, you can't have a PC without it. It doesn't work properly. And video games have used mice as control devices for around, what was it? Yeah, 40 years. So when you can't make proper mouse control in a game with proper registration of clicking, with properly recognizing that mice today have more than 2 buttons, when you can't implement mouse movement properly without this funky ass acceleration that just makes you want to tear your eyes out, when you have a game that's famous for having a really small margin for error and requires players to have absolute superb coordination and handling of their character to do well, and you can't implement proper mouse controls in a game genre that other people have made fantastic and I mean absolutely works of art in terms of mouse control in 15 years ago, you don't have any excuse. I don't care if you're from Japan. You don't program games using a gamepad. You're gonna select text with a mouse. I know you are. You're gonna click and drag on things. And Bethesda, you're not getting away either. You know what you're doing. Stop it. Speaking of which, number 6. Long unskippable intros. Now there are 2 crimes here, if I'm gonna be honest. One of them is the pre-startup ads, because what else would they be? You know, stuff with logos made by, in collaboration with, uses X third-party thing, works based on lie here. Instead of having those as a splash screen for, you know, the actual loading of the game, they are the first ones to show up, and they take about 50 years to actually cycle through. And sometimes, like with Deus Ex Mankind Divided, you have to remember to constantly turn the volume down to the minimum possible level, otherwise that AMD logo is going to wake up everybody in the city. The dead will rise and tell you to turn that thing down, or they will give you a whooping you'll never forget. And it's not like this is a new issue. People, players, gamers have been complaining about them since they've been added in the video games, and yet they still do it. Sometimes they're patched out because the players already just delete the files, so they'll be rid of them, but people still insist on having them there. And now we get to part 2. Long, boring ass intros where you're supposed to be playing the game but actually you're just sitting there doing bupkis. You're listening to an NPC rattle off about something so stupid, so goddamn boring that you can't even fathom that people were paid to write that, someone was paid to animate the character saying that, someone was paid and subjected to the pain of actually voice acting that thing. When there is voice acting, sometimes people just get so bored with reading that they just splash up some text and be done with it, and you get these absolutely asinine Bethesda introductions to games that just make you want to never play this again. They make you want to mod it instantly to have a different starting point where you actually get to play the game and not have to dredge to a dumb semi-tutorial, semi-world building. Oh, please, like that's building any world. It's just building frustration into the player. You just want to yell, get on with it. And then see the people that programmed it, designed it, implemented it, made it be crushed by a giant foot without any shoes that sort of comes up out of a cloud and looks like a cartoon. Or they could go to jail. That's also a possibility. A game jail, I mean, where they have to play their own introduction for 2 days, which is the average duration of their introduction anyway, so it wouldn't really be that difficult. It gets even worse when they implement a tutorial in this area as well. The kind of tutorial that makes you think, oh my god, this was made to train chimps, wasn't it? It's trying to explain to me how to move a camera. Sure, I mean, every game can be someone's first, so it's important for them to be able to understand. They're trying to teach me what a button is. Okay, no, it's made for monkeys. It's made for absolute monkeys. Well, actually, no, that's insulting. Monkeys I've seen play games and do it well, or at least better than some video game journalists. But that's a whole other matter. Number 5, constantly respawning enemies. Now, here's the thing. Unless your name is Jedi Outcast, Jedi Academy, Severance, the Blade of Goddamn Darkness, Oni with better level design, a platinum game title. Heck, maybe Path of Neo was awesome too. Unless you're a game with really kick-ass combat. And I mean the kind of combat that will make you just want to punch and kick things until the end of eternity. You've got no reason to have respawning enemies. Oh, yeah, okay, if your name's Diablo, and if the enemy respawns happen after you restart the game, you know, because it does that, kind of needs to, because it's grind-based, but it's a fun kind of grind. Unless all of those, if you respawn enemies, you should go to jail, because that's a crime. That's a crime right there. If you have monster closets that just spawn Nazis, like a couple of Wolfenstein games I know, one in particular that abused the feature, you should reconsider your encounters. If you're making a game based on that idea, you know, like the wave-based shooter type, you kind of have to realize that at one point, the enemies aren't fun anymore, are they? Let's face it, you're not left for dead. You can't create that kind of tension, that kind of drama, that kind of interesting gameplay. You're a hack. You know you are. You stumbled into success by accident, by the sheer fact that you got the idea of, oh, let's make Left 4 Dead, but now they're cops. Everybody loves to shoot cops. Or better yet, you bought the studio that came up with that idea, and now you're basically riding their coattails and pretending you're doing something. Not naming names, you know who you are, Starbreeze. So unless you actually do something interesting with those enemies, you know, have them be varied enough, interesting enough, have an AI, have them do things, have interesting levels. Not something so repetitive you get lost in a straight line because you think, oh, did I already visit this place because it looks just like the... But no, it can't be. I mean, why would they have the same bear down cottage in both places? It's dumb. Unless you actually have a reason, like a really good reason to have those infinitely respawning enemies, don't do it. A good reason would be you're Kal Katarn and you can pretty much just chop off stormtroopers' feet and it'll never not be fun. You know, that's a good reason. Other reasons would not include because you rested at a bonfire. The hell with that. Number 4. Sequel naming. Let's get a couple of things straight. If you're gonna name a game the same thing as the old one, without any numbers, without any sort of indication that, oh, it's different, by basically trying to override the existence of the previous game, you're a criminal. I can think that's against the Geneva Convention. It's especially more annoying when you do it to a game that doesn't have anything to do with the previous game, for which you also own the rights and were developing a sequel until you thought to yourself, you know what, let's not do it. but you still made the other game with the same name, angering people that would have liked to see that sequel, and forever placing a black mark on Arcane's System Shock tribute by the sheer name you put on it. Because you thought, oh well, we have marketing already for that thing, so let's keep it. I mean, it's brand awareness. You should go to jail. Marketing jail. A jail where you're stuck in a room with someone that desperately wants to buy something, but every time you want to sell them, you get electrocuted slightly in very nasty parts of your body. See, this is why it's good that I'm not a gaming industry executive, because I would actually do that. I think it's illegal and enforced quite often at Electronic Arts whenever someone says something like, you know what, maybe we should make the next game actually good. Now, that does explain a lot now, doesn't it? Also, if you're gonna put Rise of in the name of a game, don't. If you're gonna put pretty much any overused, overplayed, oh goddamn, not that thing again, subtitle or prefix or suffix, you should absolutely go to jail. One where you're forced to not use certain words when speaking, just so they would be filtered out of your knowledge base, of your usual word pool. Or at least be creative. Yeah, we all laughed at Revengeance's name, but you gotta admit, it's unique. It's not something you'll ever confuse with anything. It's original. It's funny. It's self-aware. It doesn't have its head up its own ass. Be more like that. That thing I mentioned a second ago about the head up the... I also think that's mandatory at Electronic Arts. Number 3. E3 gameplay trailers in big quotation marks. We've seen them so often. The gameplay trailers. This is the actual game, guys. This is exactly how it looks. It's in-engine. This is the demo that we're currently testing, right? You can even play it the next at TGS or some place else. Yeah, you'll be able to play it. Absolutely no problem. Sure, yeah, it's the thing, dudes. Yeah, it's all fake. It's the fakest fake thing possible. And it's not like the developers don't know it's fake. They pretty much just make it to say, hey, publisher, this is what we're going for. This is what we're gonna try to make. See, we're gonna do something that does this like that, and then it does this, and the publisher sits and says, whoa, us here at the marketing department, yeah, we like it. Hey, can we show this to others? And the developer goes like, yeah, sure. If you can make it, sure, show it to anybody you like. Just remember to tell them that this is what we're going for. It's not the actual game. And they go, sure, absolutely, we'll do that. And then they showed at E3 as in-game footage, completely played on the stage. This is the exact game. It's exactly how the final version will be. And they do it repeatedly, and they lie about it. They'll continue to lie even when they've been caught. And they'll never stop lying, even though there are actual laws against it. Like, this is properly against the law, but they still do it because the law doesn't apply to marketing now, does it? Just ask Volkswagen. Number 2, escort and follow missions. Now, if you are an aspiring game developer and at one point got the bright idea of, you know what, I'm gonna put a mission in this game where you have to follow someone or escort someone to a place, where I'm gonna build an entire game around that idea and not have the AI that's being escorted be an invulnerable teleporting entity that cannot get lost, literally because it'll just go where it needs to without any sort of problems, and the act of actually following it around won't be an absolute pain in the keister. It'll make you want to throttle me again and again, resurrect me even, just to throttle me even more. Don't. I cannot stress this enough. Ubisoft, don't. Now, while there have been some games, like the Prince of Persia that wasn't in the Prince of Persia series and the really charming in its own way Bioshock Infinite, the majority of escort or follow scenarios in games have been wretched, to the point where they have caused games to not be playable. A good example would be Daikatana, where the AI had to go places and it couldn't because it got lost along the way. Or it's the kind of thing that can turn a probably really enjoyable game about pirates at sea and arcadey ship type combat action and really beautiful sea shanties into an absolute wreck that makes you want to claw your eyes out and then punch anybody that's near you, Ubisoft. Because, let's be honest, you're not gonna find a way to make these missions interesting. What's interesting about me hiding in a bush, listening to people talk about the target I'm supposed to kill, when I pretty much know who I'm supposed to kill and where they are? They're in a giant-ass ship that's parked off the coast. Like, I can see it. I've got eagle vision, I can see my targets as radar, I know where they are constantly. Why do I have to listen to these guys tell me where I'm supposed to go in this open world game where I'm supposed to be free to do whatever the hell I want? It's because that mission was designed by a criminal, or more likely a committee of criminals. And when it comes to escort missions, you know that unless the one you're supposed to be escorting is smart or at least manageably clever, it's going to be an absolute horror fest of restarting because they got stuck somewhere, or because they're so slow, or they fell through the floor, or they're just simply suicidal and will do their best to get their asses killed and make Dead Rising 2 really unenjoyable. Probably the first one too, I still haven't gotten around to playing it, but I will this week. It's these kinds of missions, this kind of game design that should be outright banned. But if you're gonna say, well, what about artistic freedom? Well, what about putting cyanide in cereal for kids? I know you may be saying that that's an exaggeration. Are you mad? Are you insane? Do you not understand nuance? Buddy, this is the internet. Nuance is not a word we know, especially not on this show. And number one is limited or non-existent save game options. I'm gonna blow your mind. I'm gonna tell you exactly why save games aren't omnipresent anywhere and everywhere. It's not because some people want to build tension. It's not because they don't want to make the game easy. It's because at one point there was no such thing as storage on video game devices, on consoles, and people got used to that. Much like they got used to slavery and racism and never did anything about them until somebody came and told them, hey, you know what? That's kind of illegal when you break it right down to it. I mean, it contradicts the basic human rights of some people. And if you're saying, are you so goddamn tone deaf that you're comparing racism and slavery to the ability to save a game? Again, you missed the part where this show has no understanding of nuance because it's on the internet. What I mean to say is that on mediums that have had the ability to store things, kilobytes, kilobits, bits even, saving has been a thing, and it's been going around and it's been doing wonders. It's been working out fine for 30 plus years. No problems. Nobody's complained that in Ultima you could save too often. Nobody said, well, you know what would improve Eye of the Beholder if you could only save at the beginning of a level. Nobody said, you know what? This uber duper crashy Bethesda title should only have save points at certain places and the enemies respawn if you save. Just think about that for a second. Think about playing a Bethesda game where you can only save in certain areas, all the enemies respawn, the loot doesn't of course, and it crashes non-stop. It's a Bethesda game. Think how happy you'd be playing that. Think about it. Really. Draw it into you. Feel it. Let it consume your soul. And now you understand the perspective of someone that's been playing PC games for a real long time when they encounter games that don't let you save. Games like The Last Doom that doesn't let you say, okay, yeah, it's got checkpoints and save points, but dude, I want to save my game when I want to, not when you want to. It's me playing, it's not you. Give me a choice. Heck, even the last Hitman game, where it's online only fiasco in certain places, lets me choose, and that is an absolute monster of a game when it comes to tension. It's still incredibly tense even though I can save anytime. And sure, I can make it even more tense by choosing to never save. But that's my choice. That's not what some criminal programmed in, forcing me to restart levels again and again and again, just because there's a jump somewhere out there that I can't seem to be able to make on account of your platforming is horrible, but you decided to put jumps everywhere. Like, that's why we're playing combat-focused action games for some reason. And this, without a doubt, is the greatest video game crime from my perspective, and from the fact that it's almost midnight and I tend to get a bit squirrely at midnight and ramble on for too long. A special mention of something that should be a crime is designing a world that doesn't really make sense. For example, let's take a scenario where you crack open a safe and find nothing in it, then talk to an NPC, and then go back to the safe you opened, and you find now in there a piece of incriminating evidence that has a note to it telling someone else, a henchman for example, to dispose of this. Something like that. Now, I'm not saying it's mankind divided, I'm just saying it wasn't a good Deus Ex game, and that in itself is an absolute crime. So is not having a good interface on PC, you know, even though you had one with Morrowind. And oh yeah, entering the main game before letting me change options in the menu. Because, you know, sometimes the standard things aren't gonna work at all, much like the Windows Store. And now that I've alienated most people, please tell me in the comments what you believe are the most heinous video game crimes. Goodbye.